I hate public transit. So I sold my car quite a few years ago, which means that I rely pretty heavily on public transit. I also live very far away from where I work, so I am on a train for a few hours a day on the days that I go into the office. Usually not too bad on like the long train rides because everyone is on a long train ride and no one is happy to be there, so they're usually pretty quiet. But when I'm in the Boston area and I'm taking trains around or buses around to get from place to place, ooh, you never know what's gonna happen. I have a narration video going up on Friday of me reading scary stories that happen on subways and trains. So today I'm gonna talk about some of my public transit horror stories. They're awful. The first one is a little bit sad. I was working at a job that I really did not like. It's by far my least favorite job I've ever had in my life, and I've worked a lot of jobs. Long story short, on that job, I was hired to do medical research that was way out of my comfort zone and way out of my skill range for someone who just has a bachelor degree and introductory experience in biology. But they wanted to hire someone with like a master's degree set of skills and pay them a bachelor degree salary, so that's how I got into that job. And sure enough, because I hated it and I couldn't really do it very effectively, I ended up getting fired. Not really fired, but it was heavily recommended that I resign. I was basically fired. It's the only job that I've ever been fired from or that I've been asked to resign from. I walked out of work that day feeling like I had just failed as a biologist, and I was like reconsidering my whole life and what I was gonna do next. That day in particular was just very, very rough for me. I was waiting for the train and there was like 6-foot piles of snow on the side of the sidewalks. If you guys live in New England, you know how it can get after there's like many snowstorms in a row. They just kind of like pile up these nasty brown piles of snow on the side of the road, and you basically have to walk through a tunnel, which at that point was actually like higher than my head because I'm 5 feet tall, to get down the sidewalk. So I'm waiting for the train, and about 3 of them go by without me being able to get on because they were so packed. And I'm finally able to get on a train after standing there in the snow crying in my fucking business casual, which I also hated. I hated the way I dressed for that job, just everything about it I hated. My mascara was like kind of runny. I didn't look like a total mess, but like you could clearly tell based on the puffy eyes that I had been crying and I was having a really rough day. I finally get onto the train. I am not in the mood to talk to anybody. I got another like 45 minutes before I get home, and I had just waited outside for at least half an hour to get on the train in the first place. So I grab a seat near the front and I just sit there with my headphones in, trying to listen to something that might cheer me up a little bit, but still like pissed off and sad and feeling defeated. And I noticed this woman sitting across from me who's looking at me like very intensely, and she's rather old and she has a cane, and she starts talking to me. I can't hear what she's saying because I have my headphones in. I'm trying to ignore her, but she is really, really trying to get my attention. So finally I take out my headphone and I say, What the fuck do you want? And she's just like mumbling something. Like she's not really saying words to me. She's just like talking very quietly and mumbling. And I'm like, what? What do you need? Clearly she had something to tell me because I'm the only person on this packed train that she's like trying to talk to. And finally she speaks loud enough for me to understand what she's saying, and she's just repeating over and over again, $1. $1. She's like, no! No dollars. And she takes her cane and she fucking bangs it on the floor of the train, and she's like, $1. It's really funny now, but at the time I was fucking pissed. And I am not the type of person to make a scene in public, but I was rip shit. I had just gotten fired from my fucking job. I had no idea what I was gonna do with my life. This lady is asking me for a fucking $1. So I say quite a bit louder than necessary. No, not today. I'm not in the mood. And everyone on the train is just looking at me like I am the biggest fucking asshole. And I get it. If you don't have the context, I basically just yelled at a woman who's just asking me for $1. If she had just said Like, can I have $1? Or do you have any spare change? I would have had a very different reaction, but I'm not dealing with some fucking cane spanking dollar lady who just says to me $1 like I'm a fucking vending machine. This one was right after I had moved once. I would get lost pretty frequently because I would try to like take different routes home, and this particular night I had taken like 3 trains that brought me out of the way. I was having a really rough time, but I was feeling pretty good. I had just gotten this like new dress. It was one of those like high-low hem dresses, and it was like flowing behind me in the wind, and I had this like magenta lipstick on. I was feeling like a goth princess walking around the streets of Boston. I felt great about myself, and I'm finally on the right train and I'm on my way back. The train is pretty empty at this point. There's a lot of empty seats. I'm in like a 2-seater at the seat closest to the window. So there's an empty seat next to me. There's a couple other 2-seaters that are occupied like that. And then in general, like a handful of other empty seats. And just as I am melding into the music that I am listening to, this guy gets on the train. He was really dirty, probably had some like drug addiction problems if I had to guess. No judgment towards him until he starts his tirade over the train. It only takes him a few seconds of being on this train before he starts screaming Bible verses at everyone. I wish I had taken out my phone and recorded it, but I was just sinking down into my seat trying to become invisible. And this guy is walking around screaming at everyone about how we're all sinners and how we're all going to hell, and I'm like, fuck yeah! And then he spots me. I'm probably the most like eye-catching person on the train. I don't know, people dress pretty plain in Boston. I had this bright ass lipstick on. I can kind of understand why he would pick me out of a crowd. In my head, I'm just like, why me? Why today? I've been on the bus for way too long. I've been on the train for way too long. Why me today? And he plops down in the seat next to me, and he fucking reeks. He smells so bad. He smells like an old moldy sandwich, and I'm just slowly trying to become one with my seat and just staring out the window trying to avoid eye contact with this man at all costs. And he's continuing his rant about how we're all sinners and everything, but now he is facing me like this close to my fucking head, just screaming at me, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't have like a taser or a knife or anything on me. I'm like, this guy is gonna fucking kill me. I take out my phone, I start texting my friend about like what bus I'm on, what town I'm in, what I'm wearing, so that way they can identify my body after this man surely murders me, because that is absolutely what he's about to do. And just when I'm getting ready to say goodbye to my life, this man shits. He just shits himself. He just takes a big fucking dookie right in his pants. If you've been on my channel for a really long time, I have told that story before, but it is just one of my favorites. Big old dookie right in the pants. Love it. Luckily he like stopped screaming at that point. I don't know if he was embarrassed or if he even had like the capacity to feel embarrassment, but he got off the train after that and hopefully went and cleaned himself up. Now this last story is just super embarrassing on my part. You've probably heard me say this before, but I am just a very embarrassing person. I manage to humiliate myself almost every time I go out in public. It's a fun time. It's super fun. So I was actually wearing the dress that I am wearing right now, which is why I wore it for this video. I haven't worn this dress since this story happened, actually, because I've just been so horrified about what happened. So this dress is velvet. I carry a backpack to work, like a big backpack, so I can fit my laptop in there, you know, extra clothes if I'm going to the gym or going to a friend's house to stay over or something, and just like generally anything that I would need. I like to have a backpack. I like to be prepared. And if you have ever worn a backpack with a dress or a skirt, you probably know that there are many materials that like to ride up over time as you walk around with the backpack. With each step, the backpack is shifting slightly back and forth. So if the fabric grabs onto the back of the backpack at all, it's like going to slowly walk up your legs. You probably already know where this is going. So I had run to the train station this day because I realized that I was about to be late for the train and the next one wasn't coming for another like 15 minutes and I had to get to a meeting and blah blah blah. So anyway, I run to the station. I realized when I get there I still have a couple minutes before the train comes, so I'm like, okay, Cool. I'm winded at this point, so I decide to go up the escalator so I can catch my breath a little bit. Luckily, I did choose the escalator because a kind stranger saved me this day. So I'm minding my own business, I'm going up the escalator, I got my headphones in, and I feel someone like tap on my shoulder. And I look behind me and there's this young Asian girl who doesn't speak a lot of English, but she looks horrified, like absolutely horrified. Her face is so red and she looks so concerned and she's trying to find the right words to tell me what's going on. And finally she's like, your dress? And I reach back and sure enough, my dress had ridden up so far up my back that the hem was literally tucked into the top of my underwear somehow. I'm talking the whole ass. Whole ass is out, both cheeks, baby. I'm putting on a show for the entire fucking town. A out for the bees, you know what I mean? It's all out there. She is hanging out. And I couldn't help but laugh and just, you know, I fixed my dress obviously, and then throughout the day I was just really paranoid and constantly checking the hem of my dress. And thank you to that kind, sweet girl for helping me out, and I am so sorry I scarred you first thing in the morning with my entire ass cheek. I'm sure there are plenty of interesting things that have happened to you guys on public transit, so if there's anything you want to share, let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully you didn't show your whole fucking ass to anyone. And if you want to hear some actual horror stories about public transit, just stay tuned for Friday's video. I'm gonna read some scary stories, it'll be fun. You know what I do here. And as always, hit the like button if you like this video, because that's what it's there for. Hit subscribe if you want to see some more from me, and I will see you guys next time.